Mm-hmm.
Yep, that'll work.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. As I was going over the sacrament prayers this last week, I did note that there's some very significant I don't know how significant they are, but there is a significant difference in terms of the prayer for the bread and the prayer for the wine in the sacrament. I just want to I'm going to go ahead and highlight that section of the prayer that is different. So for the bread, it says in verse 3 of chapter 4 of Moroni that they may eat in remembrance of the body of thy son and witness unto thee, O God, the eternal Father, that they are willing to take upon them the name of thy son, and always remember him, and keep his commandments which he hath given them, that they may always have his spirit to be with them. Amen. Now there's a couple of significant let's skip over to chapter 5 verse 2 and go over that section of the prayer in the wine prayer.
Hence wine, not water.
Yes, wine prayer. Yes. Bless and sanctify this
wine. It even
wine.
says it in the Book of Mormon. Anyways.
Bless
and the DNC.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are so grateful for the wine. Anyway, to bless and sanctify this wine to the souls of all those who drink of it, that they may do it in remembrance of the blood of thy Son, which was shed for them, that they may witness unto thee, O God, the eternal Father, that they do always remember him, that they may have his spirit to be with them. There's two inserted phrases in the bread prayer that are significant. That they are willing to take upon them the name of thy Son is inserted before always remember him.
Mm-hmm.
And they may
and
keep his commandments which he hath given them is inserted before they may always have his spirit to be with them. Now, I do believe that these phrases are connected. The taking of the name upon us and keeping the commandments. That's why they're both in the bread prayer. They're not in the wine prayer, because the wine prayer is about remembering his atonement.
Yes.
The bread prayer. They're in the bread prayer because the bread prayer is about what we do to bring our broken heart and contrite spirit to the table, that his atonement may be visited upon us.
Yeah, I can see that. So one thing I'm going to add that I would say complements what you're saying, though, is that name is a Hebrew idiom for character. And his character is keeping the commandments. And that is how we take his name upon us.
That's why he gave
character upon us. And that's what the commandments teach.
That's why he gave us commandments.
And I think another key thing,
yeah,
I saw something else key in there that I think a lot of people may overlook. In the bread prayer, it says that they may always have his spirit to be with them. In the wine prayer, it says that they may have his spirit to be with them.
So by taking his name upon us, keeping his commandments, we guarantee always to have his spirit with us.
And with, the first one being about the primarily commandments, right?
It's
if
about
we're
our
keeping his commandments, we would have his spirit, which is so spirit is an overloaded term, right?
Yes.
But I think the context in this prayer would suggest that it's his ways, his behaviors.
Yes.
Which is one of the definitions of spirit, which is taught us how he behaves in the commandments. And if we're keeping his commandments,
we do have his character.
We would have his character
or his spirit
with him
to always be with us.
Yeah, and this is why it's so important to live in the best that you know. Because if you don't, you aren't taking upon you the name of Christ. You're not taking upon you his character. You're making excuses for why you fail to do as you promised to do.
Right.
Those who do not live to the best that they know and still partake of the sacrament weekly, I think you should I think this is something to think about. I don't think you need to accept it necessarily as truth, but those,
I would say 3 Nephi 18.
yeah, if you are not living
goes
to the
along
best,
if you're not repenting, meaning striving to be better, because there, I agree. One thing I would add myself to doing as you currently know is strive to learn more. Don't just be stagnant where you're at.
Yes.
Go seek to be sanctified, which you get sanctified by the law. And that's from the DNC, from the Book of Mormon, and the Bible. It's all over the place. Okay.
Yep. It's all throughout the scriptures that the law is that it's through the law that the atonement of Christ sanctifies us.
Right. And sanctification is different than justification. But anyways, we're not going there right now. But I would just add, do the best you know how now. And if you haven't, because we make mistakes, okay? We all have sinned. Me especially, okay? I have sinned. But that doesn't mean I have to sin now.
That's right.
See?
Right.
Okay.
At any moment, you can turn from your sins and live without sin.
Yes. Yeah. So we have no excuse. In fact, Paul even states that if you continually sinning and just sinning, it's as if there was no sacrifice for you.
Right.
Yep.
I don't. We'd have to go look up the exact phrase, and we can if you guys want to. But I'm paraphrasing.
But I think for our purposes for this, this was supposed to, as I believe that, as I saw this is supposed to be a preamble where we're talking about the covenant, the nature of the covenant, which is laid out in the sacramental prayers, and Ruth actually goes into the nature of the covenant as well.
Sure. And just on this, I will say that the sacramental prayer is a renewal of the covenant. Or let me say it a little different. It's a witness that we are renewing our covenant to keep all his commandments.
There you go. I can
That's
agree
probably
with
a better way of stating it.
Yeah.
Because baptism is a witness that you have already covenanted to keep all his commandments, which means you don't need to go hire ordinances such as the temple that I grew up in to keep additional covenants, because you have already covenanted to keep all his commandments, and baptism is written in the witness of that. This is just another one that we do on a weekly basis.
Yeah, so it's a really important thing that when we talk about sacraments as a plural, what we're talking about are the ordinances of salvation.
Right. And just to make sure people know that DNC 59 sacraments is plural in DNC 59, and that's where he's
yes, it is.
And therefore your sacraments, the ordinances of salvation, are meant to be performed on the Sabbath.
You don't only have to happen on the Sabbath, but I would say that's the preferred time.
When the gates of heaven are open.
Well, they're always open, but I do think
I was going to say, wait a minute.
Yeah, but in the scriptures it states specifically that there are days when they are closed. The approach to the throne is closed, and that's the work
talking
days.
about the temple and not heaven, if I remember correctly. But.
Okay, well, it's okay, and maybe you're right.
But anyways, I think heaven is always open to receive a repentant sinner. Myself,
that's fine.
But I do think there's some preferred days to do some things.
Right. And I could agree with
well,
that.
the question then becomes, why are they preferred? because
it's about his
for me, it's
kingdom.
not for me. It's never enough to know that it's a preferred day. I have
Okay.
to know why it's preferred, and
For
so
sure.
that's
Well, so
kind of what that's kind of where I'm trying to get at, and it's due to my study, due to study regarding the Sabbath day, and I may be misinterpreting the scripture that in Ezekiel that talks about that.
sure, but I think it's the preferred day because that's the day that represents the kingdom, heaven.
Right.
In fact,
Okay.
the seventh day it should be a mirror of the seventh millennium,
Yes.
Right.
and it
Yes.
is throughout the
right.
scriptures. In
Mhm.
fact, just a little interesting tidbit: it's the seventh year that the land has rest.
This is true.
That's a whole nother subject, but anyways, I find
Yeah.
that intriguing in that I think I'll just say this: life, I do believe, is going to be easier.
You said what now?
Life and farming, I think, will be easier. But anyways, we won't
That would be
sidetrack
great.
on that.
We're sidetracking now, but
Yeah,
I
we're
think,
We're
but
squirreling
I
like
do,
a
but
lot.
we're the squirrels are running in all different directions at this
Oh
point.
yeah.
Okay, so but I think that but that was something that I wanted to bring out in the sacramental prayers, that the keeping of the commandments is inextricably connected with taking upon us the name of the Son.
Right. And
Yes.
I would definitely say the bread does go
And that the
along
bread
with
prayer,
the
that the bread prayer,
commandments,
and that the
and
bread
the
prayer is,
wine goes with the atonement. But anyways,
and
sorry.
that the bread prayer, and furthermore, that the bread prayer is about what we bring to the table with our broken heart and contrite spirit.
Right. Which is representative of being repentant, which is going back to the commandments, right?
Yes. And then the wine prayer
It's
is
his side of the
representative of our remembrance of what he brings.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
And so the sacrament in and of itself is a complete witness of both sides of the covenant.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
I figured that might be uplifting to share.
Yeah. I think that's
It
very
was.
good.
Thank you.
I think I've shared thoughts about the sacrament in the past, and I think it's an important thing to reflect upon because I do believe it points to the atonement and what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a renewal of a covenant that we made before we were baptized.
Right.
At least you better have made it before you were baptized. Otherwise, why the heck were you baptized?
So I agree with that statement, but I do know the LDS Church teaches you make it at baptism instead of before. So they get it wrong, but I'm sidetracking a little bit. I think next we want to go talk about Ruth. So
let's
focus on that. Then
Let's
not be ruthless.
from another church.
So, let us not be ruthless.
Yeah, that was clever. So I'm just gonna bring in. I don't know if there's any JST.
Josh is dying over here. He's about to cut his ears off.
Oh, boy. No, that was pretty good. Actually, there's no
JST. It was clever. It was clever. It was just a little too clever. That
No, I liked it. Anyways.
No, it's good. It's just I was a little jelly that I didn't think of it first. Dang
it. So I'll let Zach say a little bit because this is actually his idea to read Ruth. So sorry to put you on the spot, Zach, but you guys do it to me all the time.
Take that.
I actually don't remember how I got to the idea of doing this.
I don't either because I we all have various things we want to talk about, but we all we kind of I try to focus on what people bring up at in the moment.
And
We
this
didn't really have
was
anything, so that's and we all voted for Ruth. So now we're doing it.
May I say something, Stephen?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So Ruth is a beautiful, in simplest explanation, the most beautiful expose on someone who is not initially a part of the covenant, who can become a part of the covenant.
I would
And
say
take on the covenant relationship with their Father in heaven.
I would say that the book of Ruth is actually prophetic.
Yeah, that too.
It's
Yes.
absolutely a prophetic analogy. I mean, yes, it's historical, but at the same time, it's also in the finest Jewish tradition. The history becomes prophetic metaphor.
Mhm.
And we have, and what we have here is the bringing into the covenant, and we have put on display the nature of the covenant and the nature of our relationship with he who gave the covenant.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing I would say is I would say Naomi, the old mother, right, is symbolic of the old church teaching the new church how to come unto the Messiah. Because as we see, when Ruth basically proposes and says, I want to be in your covenant to
Boaz.
Yeah, sorry. Who taught her how to do it? Is Naomi, the ancient
It's
church.
Naomi.
Mhm.
Which is so symbolic of the way that we should read the scriptures. The Old Testament informs our understanding of the New Testament, which in turn the Bible informs our understanding of the Book of Mormon as the covenant marches forward through time.
Exactly.
And more people are brought in.
I want to say this. I may be stretching on this, but John the Baptist said, I am not worthy to unloose his shoes, his sandals, I think it actually was. Not shoes, because shoes is more modern, right? But anyways, but I find it interesting that in Ruth we can learn what that has to deal with. It's the covenant.
Yep.
John was not worthy to do the covenant. The Messiah is. Yeshua
so Zach, you keep wanting to contribute.
Yeah. Go ahead, Zach.
I was thinking that I think it was Ben and Matt's, or originally it was Ben and Matt's idea, or like they brought it up, and I guess I second.
You seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember, but
Yeah, we had just finished. This was a good little while ago, so it's no sin that nobody remembers. But we just
sure.
Yeah.
We just finished reading Ruth, and we were both Matt and I were in the feels about it. We were just like, oh my gosh, this is powerful stuff.
Oh, even without reviewing it, just what I know of it, like we said, it's very symbolic of.
And Boaz is the savior because he atones, or he pays the price.
He is the Kinsman Redeemer, actually.
Yes.
And
Redeemer.
The Kinsman
Yeah.
Redeemer is symbolic of the Savior, because the Savior is, for those who come under his covering, is the Kinsman Redeemer. That's what it points to in so many ways.
Those who refuse to come under his covering have no kinship.
Just to get along with this, there's multiple things that are in this, including the Levirate law.
Yes.
And I think I've mentioned this before, but the Levirate law points to how the prophets who are the closest to the Messiah are to bring or to marry the church and teach the church so that way they can bring forth children, aka followers of the Messiah.
Right.
That's what the Levirate law is pointing to, in my honest opinion. But maybe I'm taking Yeshua's word that all the law and the prophets teach of him too seriously. But I don't think I am.
I don't think that's a terrible stretch.
Oh, I don't think it's a stretch at all, but I'm sure there's going to be people out there that are going to say
Like,
it's a stretch,
well,
but-
I'm being conservative. I'm trying to be conservative here.
Sure, I know. But
It doesn't suit me well. I should stop.
Diplomat.
But we have that law in here also. In fact, also just FYI, this also shows us that polygamy brings condemnation, because the closer kin, which I forget his name, if he would have married Ruth, it would have brought shame onto him.
Yep.
But it wouldn't brought shame onto Boaz. It's because of polygamy. He was already married. He knew polygamy was wrong. And there's a lot to support that. But anyways, I just want to bring that out before maybe we start reading, and maybe
so
never get to there because we take forever to read things.
Yeah, we each of us, the words in the scriptures speak to each of us.
Yes.
And then we start speaking, and then suddenly the scrolls go everywhere.
Yeah. So our hot air, people need to decide: is it because we're in Yeshua's bosom, or is it because we're in hell? Hopefully, people will recognize that it's because we're in his bosom and we know his word. Okay. But I know some are going to think it's because I'm in hell. I've had many tell me that. But
Well,
they don't know they're the Messiah.
Yeah, same, likewise. So,
anyway.
All righty. So let's get started with the reading.
So, Josh, you willing to read for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So we'll just start chapter 1.
Yeah. I don't know where to start. I'm just going to start at the beginning.
That's a good place. We'll start at verse 1.
You really need to
verse
set the
1.
stage. You need to set the stage.
Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons.
So I can bring out some things right here. So before Yeshua's second coming, and I would even say even before his first coming, there was a famine in the land, right?
Yep.
And because of that, and there is also the scattering, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which we'll see is before the second coming. There's a scattering.
This is somewhat prophetic of a
then there's a gathering, right?
Yeah.
Is it because it doesn't state it here, but those that just know the story know there's a gathering back later into the story, right?
Yeah.
And also I find it prophetic: 2 sons, 2 countries. So men in the scriptures can represent prophets or countries. And in this context here, I would take it to mean Jerusalem and Zion, or the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. But especially with how these 2 sons die. And so with these 2 sons dying, I would take it meaning probably more along the northern and southern kingdom.
Right. That's
rather than
kind of what I was thinking along those lines too. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there.
So I'm just curious if you guys want. I wonder what those names mean.
Yeah,
You
let's do
know,
it. Let's look at it.
I've always been a little curious.
Well, let's go Bible Hub.
Yes.
Yeesh.
Since we've started bringing out deeper meanings, let's continue that, and let's go look
Absolutely. I'm totally cool with that.
at those names. I hope so.
Don't worry, that's the wine speaking.
But you're not
Already?
a drunkard in
Oh
Ephraim,
my
so
goodness,
you can't
what
be
the-
drunk.
Don't
So
mind
here's-
me.
Let's go look at the husband's name.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. No,
God
I'm
is
kidding.
king.
Yep. Oh,
Oh, look at that.
God is king.
That makes
Elimelech.
sense. Like El Mech.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
God is
that makes
king.
sense. God is king.
Wow.
The
That's
king's
huge.
wife named Naomi. Okay, let's go look at Naomi. That makes me really wonder about that name. Okay, well
Naomi.
that's who she is, but what's the name?
What's the translation of the
I mean
name?
the meaning.
Hmm.
Israelitish.
Pleasant.
I don't see where it says the
From
name of the
Noam.
name.
It's from Noam. Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. Down there at the bottom. Scroll down.
Yeah, oh, right here. So I'll click on that one. Let's see what that is. Pleasant.
Pleasant, delightful, or lovely.
That makes
And his
sense.
wife was pleasant, delightful, and lovely. Oh,
Which
his
is what
church was pleasant, delightful, and lovely.
Yeah. Oh man, that's cool. I'm glad
Is
we
it
looked up these
not?
names.
Now
It
let's
is
look at
really
Malin.
There's the king with his lovely
With his-
wife, right?
Yeah.
Man, this
Now
looks a
let's look
lot
at
more
Malin.
like this second. Yeah.
This
Let's
I'm really
totally
curious about
changes
Malin.
everything.
This isn't
Oh my
symbolic at
gosh.
all. No, never.
Right?
So this one we apparently uncertain deviation.
Derivation, huh?
Duration. So masculine. Yeah, okay. This one it's not being too helpful.
Not so
Let's go
much.
look at the next
No,
one.
wait,
Oh,
did it say Machlon? It's supposed to be Mahlon.
Did I miss something?
Why is it Machlon? It's supposed to, Machlon. I got you. So it's the Hebrew. I'm sorry, I'm getting caught up on the Hebrew. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
No, that's
It's
fine.
Mach. So it's actually a hard
Mach-
aspirative. Machlon.
If we wanted to spend time, we could look at the letters, but I'd rather not spend time on that.
No. All I'm saying is I got caught up with the
Oh.
Hebrew. So
What
it's
is
supposed
Chilean?
to be a hard aspirative, which
Ki-
means he's
Kilian.
supposed to pronounce it Machlon and
Okay.
Helion. Or
Yeah,
Kala.
I know. You're going on the Hebrew. So
Kala.
here's the
To be
complete.
complete, it is at an end.
Finished, accomplished, or spent.
And he's the
Interesting.
youngest and last son.
That's interesting.
At an end. So I would speculate here that would almost point to Joseph at the end, because Joseph's going to be a big deal at the end, right?
Yeah.
So I would wonder, just complete speculation here, if Malholm
Machlon.
or Macholm, I'm not going to try any more than that. If we actually knew translation, I wonder if it would point to Judas somehow. Just out of curiosity.
Now, that's an interesting thought.
I don't know. That's complete speculation, right?
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
All right.
I was thinking more along the lines of well, if we look at the definitions underneath it, uncertain derivation, it says the first husband of Ruth, but like the first. So maybe it's talking about, well, no, that wouldn't necessarily make sense. Never mind. I've already called myself on it.
Okay. All right.
Oh, by the way, we're looking at the definitions of names.
Mm.
Elimelech is God is king.
Yeah.
Naomi is pleasant, beautiful,
Mhm.
wonderful. So if you think about it, Elimelech is God, and he has this wife who is
The
pleasant
church.
and beautiful,
Mhm.
his church.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then the
Here.
oldest son, we Machom or whatever, we don't
Yeah,
they don't know what it comes from, so we don't know anything about that. But the
Mhm.
second one
Kalam.
Ilion.
translates to at end, which to me, I wonder if it's pointing to Ephraim because or Joseph, because the big deal that he has in the end. And
Mhm.
because of that, I wonder if the other son, if we knew the definition or what it comes from, would point to Judah. I just wonder.
Mm.
But you can see here
Yeah.
they don't know. So we can't say anything. That's just complete speculation. It's just to me it's curious.
Mhm.
Especially
Yeah.
with the husband and the wife's name and what they point to, right? Which I think that adds symbolism to the history, right?
Yes.
Right.
And I think it also shows God's hands in it, right?
Mhm.
But let's go back. I don't think we're gonna get done reading this.
No. We're only in
Anyway.
verse 2. Here,
Yeah,
let's
we're
go to
only in
verse 3.
2. Okay.
And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons.
Well, so this obviously would be pointing to the atonement because the
Yes.
father died,
Mhm.
right? And he
Yep.
died for the 2 nations,
Yep.
Judah and Ephraim.
Ephraim, which
Yep.
is Israel, right? Because he died for the house
Yes.
of Israel,
Mhm.
aka the believers, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And they took them wives of the women of Moab.
Oh,
name-
all the church took on pagan ways,
Yeah.
Mhm.
took on the ways that they weren't supposed to.
We should investigate those names too. The name of the one was Orpah.
Okay, well, yeah, all right. So let's go back to Bible Hub.
Yep.
We like Bible Hub.
we love that.
And of course, we know the other one was Ruth, but yeah.
So
Orpah.
verse 4. Okay, so 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4. So let's just look at Moabite just out of curiosity. Descendant of Moab.
Descendant
Okay,
of
we know
Moab.
that, but okay.
Yeah.
Son of Lot. Okay, but I want more than that. Okay, it's not giving a lot for
No.
Moab.
No, because Moabite is a descriptor of.
Well, what? But let's
who-
go back to a study we did earlier regarding
Yeah, well, I
Lot
think
and
you're
his
thinking of
daughter's
Genesis 18
transgressions.
and 19, right?
Yeah, Lot and his
Wow.
daughter's transgression.
Yeah.
Transgression. And
Which
these Moabites are the descendants of transgression.
right. And so I agree. This is showing how the church
they're taking on transgression.
false teaching.
They're
Mhm.
taking
and
on transgression. They're adopting the ways of the
world.
world.
But let's go look at these names.
Orpah.
Well, that's a good definition. Okay, but we want more meaning in the name from the same as. All right, let's look at this one.
Oreth.
Back of the neck. So, stiff-necked neck is what I would
Yep.
come to mind for me, right?
Stiff-necked.
Next.
Stiff-necked. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go look at Ruth. That one's probably going to be positive. Just friendship. So this brings to mind that Yeshua doesn't just throw out the name or title friend.
Right.
He only calls those who have friend that have really come into his covenant and are diligently seeking after him.
Mm-hmm.
which is why in the New Testament, when he said, "I've called you friend," he made such a big deal out of it to the
Yes.
apostles.
That's why he makes such a
really
big
made
deal
a
out of
big
it.
deal out of that.
That's why he makes such a big deal out of it in the Doctrine and Covenants.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
he
that
makes
too.
a big deal out in the Doctrine and Covenants too.
Now,
but-
anywhere that he has called people friend, he foot stomps it every single time. He's like, "I've called you my friend."
Yeah, and Ruth is about someone who's a,
And
a
honestly-
true Hebrew that she has crossed over, right?
Right.
Into his ways,
She is
which
a
is his
she is a
friend.
child. She is a child of transgression who crosses over into true worship.
Mm-hmm. And so the definition of Ruth makes perfect sense. So here it's friendship. Let's go look at it here.
At Ra, probably to associate with.
Oh, that makes sense with being friendship, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So that I think the meaning of these names adds depth to the
Adds a lot
history.
to the whole story. Yeah.
Well, and knowing and the people being defined
Yeah.
Yes.
is
Mhm.
actually the knowing who these people are is really important too.
Right.
Understanding
Okay.
it.
So I think we read the first
Yeah, we
portion.
did.
You want to read the rest?
Sure. The name of the one was Orpah. The name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years.
So I mean, this could be a stretch, but I actually, considering what the names mean, I don't think so, because Ruth goes back to the kingdom and the other one doesn't. And so I think it's easy to suggest that the 10 years would point to the 10 commandments.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand why some people would call that a stretch.
Yeah.
But I personally do not.
Yeah. It could be. Let's see. And Mahlon and Kilian also both died. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me start over. And Mahlon and Kilian died also, both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Dang, that's rough. Then she arose.
The nations died, right?
Right.
Yep.
But there were still 2 churches.
The church.
2 churches. The Church of the Devil, which actually
Church
goes
of
along with the sorry, my little Kindle app goes with the older one, right? Her name.
Right.
And the Church of Yahweh, which goes along with the name of Ruth, actually, right? Friend.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab, from the country of transgression. The church arises to return from transgression.
Yeah, he made us from the dust of the earth. He takes us from Satan's domain and brings us into his domain. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to finish?
For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread.
Bread.
Bread. Wow.
Bread.
Well, we
Back
all
to the
know
bread.
what that is.
And now you know why I wanted to go into the sacrament prayers.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the bread is the word of God.
Yes.
Those who were of the pagans or the Greek culture started hearing that Yahweh is speaking again, and they wanted to go to it, right? This even makes it even more about the second coming, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Silly Kindle with their menu.
That's nice.
Okay,
That is
I'll let
awesome.
you take back over, Josh.
All right. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2
Awake
daughters-in-law
and
with her.
arise, right? Because there's first seeing the problem, and then
And
working
arise.
on the solution, or starting to enact a solution. Because there's awake, where I think a lot of people learn that there's a problem, but then there's a rising, and that's a whole different story. And I'll just say this real quick. Arising is keeping the commandments.
Yes. It's doing.
Yeah.
Well, that would actually make sense, considering that awaking just allows you to stay in your bed, but arising requires you to do something.
Right.
Yeah, get the covers off, get up and walk around.
To get up and stand
Mhm.
up straight.
Yep.
And move.
Yeah, and do, which is what the Ether 12 is a good one for that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
In Hebrews 11, but anyways.
Yeah. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had
we were in verse 7.
Yeah. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. So now they just straight up say it.
Yeah. So the 2 daughters, so the 2 churches, they start going that way, right?
Yep.
And those who are familiar with the story, but history, I like to use history more because this is history, and it's been crafted in a way to teach us.
And in the time that it was written, it was prophecy.
Yes, in this case, I still would say it still is prophecy, but anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's written in a way to teach us things and also prophecy. But those who are familiar with the history, they know that one continues to the promised land and one does not.
Right.
And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me.
So I think this is prophetic in how the Jews didn't teach others like they were supposed to. Because here's Naomi, the old church, saying, don't follow me.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Which goes along with the false traditions that the Jews had not to preach to others. Where Acts 10 is about Yeshua telling Peter that was a false tradition. I never taught that. In fact, the scriptures even teach it. In fact, it was a mixed multitude at Sinai, but anyways.
Right. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept.
So rest has to do with salvation.
Yep.
Right. And here's the old church saying, go find salvation your own way.
Yeah.
Which is what the old church, the Jews, did, right?
And it's what they still do.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm just more trying to fit it into here, but because that's more Jews still do that, yes. But I wouldn't call the current Jews the old church, though.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, they've accepted. Well, anyways, we won't go into that sidetrack.
And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters.
Here, let's so this is probably a good place for maybe Zach to take a turn, if that's okay, Zach.
Yeah.
You want to read 11, Zach?
And Naomi said, Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands?
So I don't know, maybe Ben might have something. I'm not sure how to read that symbolically.
Okay, so this is actually one of those things that is of immense societal importance at the time, and that basically this is actually
talking about
this
the
is
Levirate
pointing
law.
towards Levirate law.
Yeah, this is pointing to the Levirate law, but I'm not sure how to read in what else to read into that other than just the Levirate law.
Yeah,
That's really what this pointing to the Levirate law, where there are a lot of Jews who don't look forward to the Messiah, so maybe that's what it could be. Because
it's over.
This is the Levirate law, and it wasn't just the Jews that kept it, I think is what it's showing here, right?
Yeah. Right.
Others did it too.
Right.
Because I would believe it was taught with Noah, and all the nations of the world are descendants of Noah. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a tendency in just about every society, almost every society, not every society, but in almost every society, for the family to step up and care for the family of the deceased.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, this is the main thing about 11 is that it's pointing to Levirate law. And as we delve deeper into Levirate law, you'll see the connection between that and raising up seed in righteousness.
Right, in the prophets and the Messiah, which I mentioned earlier. But anyway. So 12.
Turn again, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons.
So that kind of sounds like the Jews at the time of the Messiah, right? To some degree. I mean, they were kind of looking for a husband, but at the same time, they weren't at the same time, right? Anyways. So 13.
Would you tarry for them till they are grown? They were grown. Would you stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes.
Did you want to say something, Josh?
Yeah, I see this tying directly to the handmaids waiting for the bridegroom at the feast.
The 10 virgins.
The 10 virgins.
Yeah, I would agree. Because here, I mean, would you really wait for the Messiah? Because he's supposed to be the husband, right?
Right.
So I agree with that.
And one of them won't.
5 of them.
Well, I'm talking about here in this.
Oh yeah, here, yeah. Because I think that the 2 daughters represent the church of Satan and the church of the Messiah, right?
And once again, it represents half and half.
Right.
So
right, because
I would say though that the 10 virgins itself, I do think it is division between the supposed believers, where Opha is the church of Satan. So
yes,
anyways.
Yes, I would agree. I'd agree with that. So yeah, I could see that.
Okay, so I think let's go 14.
Actually, I hadn't finished 13.
Oh, sorry. Go finish 13 then.
Sorry, Zach. I know I cut you off. I'm sorry.
It's okay. For it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me.
Oh, look at this. So the hand of Yahweh was against the old church.
The hand of Yahweh turned against the Jews and rejected them.
Yeah.
As a part of Daniel 9.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is also, that's primarily about his first coming. But yeah. Okay, so 14.
And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her.
Again, I'll be right back. No, you're up down. You sit down up there.
This is really interesting as we're looking at this.
Well, it really does lead credence to what Stephen was saying, is that Orpah really is representative of the church of the devil.
Well, the interesting thing, Orpah kissed her mother and kissed her mother-in-law. Who else kissed? Judas kissed Christ.
I was thinking that too.
We were actually just going over something here. It talks about Orpah kissed her mother-in-law. Judas kissed Jesus Christ to betray him.
Yes.
Betrayed him with a kiss.
Yeah. In fact, just on that point, the reason why Yeshua was like, "You betrayed me with a kiss," is a kiss is symbolic of trust.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's a sign of that you trust me, but then here you are betraying me. But that is an interesting point. It was Judas who, was following Satan that gave Yeshua a kiss. I think that's a real good point bringing out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good fun.
Yeah.
So, where are we at? Do I need to go to the next
Verse
page?
15.
And the whole thing is, and then there's of course the last part of that, but Ruth clave unto her.
Right.
Well, and think about it, cleaving unto somebody. It's not just sort of half-heartedly holding
Can we hold?
somebody.
Let's
or
hold. Let's
holding
hold hands.
You know, it's not that. It's like full-on, almost desperation.
Yeah, it's like a big bear hug.
Yes.
It's just refusing to let go.
Yeah.
That's what it is. When you cleave onto something, you are refusing to let it go.
Right. Which is when Ruth is symbolic of the church, the true church, or the church of the firstborn.
Yep.
They are the ones that cleave unto him and his ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
All right. So I guess
All right,
15.
verse 15, I think.
Yep. And she said, "Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people, and unto her gods. Return thou on after thy sister-in-law."
Now, this to me sounds like when the Gentiles, or maybe not just the Gentiles, but I would kind of go with the Gentiles. But in the Gentiles' days, it was the Jews, or the old Jews. They're like, "Don't come do our ways," right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Get
were
outta
kind of angry that they were actually starting to believe. But that's what comes to my mind right now.
Mainly it's because of the fact that they were no longer doing those things which they in their minds made them look like a peculiar people anymore. So they were no longer a peculiar people because now the Gentiles are doing what they're doing. They're no longer a peculiar people. So it's actually an active thought process of, we're in complete denial that the Lord has forsaken us. Like, we know that he has, but we don't want to accept it.
Sure. Well, in fact, in an upcoming post, if I ever finished, I have multiple quotes from the rabbis that they know they were being rejected because the crimson thread was not turning white on the Day of Atonement for 40 years after Yeshua's death, before the destruction of the temple, which goes along with Daniel 9 that we went over last week, right? Or goes with, I should say, goes with. So, yeah. Okay. So 16.
And Ruth said, "Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people should be my people, and thy God my God."
To me, that sounds like a true convert, right?
That to me, that's one of the most beautiful verses in the entire book.
especially thy Elohim will be my Elohim, right? This convert is recognizing that the Elohim of the Jews is the true Elohim. And these converts want to lodge where the
And that
remnant of
Yeshua,
those people would lodge.
and that Yeshua, the son of David, and the son of Joseph, is her true Messiah.
Oh, okay.
Not Jesus Christ, the Greek Jesus. Yep.
Yeshua.
Or Yehoshua. Or or there's several different ways to say it. That's why sacred namers is full of crap.
Yeah.
Though Yeshua does use the name Jesus because that's how the world knows it.
Right.
In the
Well,
doctrine.
that's how he's been peddled to the world. Yes.
But still, the Messiah's name is Yeshua.
Yes.
Or Yehoshua.
Yeah. I love those verses 16 and 17. I mean, it's just basically, it's ride or die. She's all in.
No, and she is adopting
Yes.
the law
Yeah.
as her means of going forward. That's what it means. Thy God, my God will be my God, and thy people, my people.
Right.
I'm crossing over, becoming Hebrew.
So I don't know if this was already stated, but on verse 17, where thou diest, will I die? Yeshua talks those who seek after their own life shall die, and those who die to their own desires or their own life, they shall live. I can see that right
In
there. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And be buried? That sounds
Baptism.
like the baptism.
Yeah.
Because we're buried unto Yeshua's death and resurrection, right? According to Paul,
Yeah.
which I believe he knew what he was talking about there. Right?
He just
Anyways,
might have.
Great teacher.
I do believe
Teacher,
Paul
like
is what he
Stephen?
claimed to be. Yeah.
Stephen, you
Well-
mean a great teacher knew the material he was teaching? What?
Yeah, I know. The prophets and apostles actually knew things. And the scriptures are inspired by Yahweh. Oh,
Yeah,
wait, I
yes.
think there's a verse in the New Testament about that, but what do I know?
Well, yeah.
We're stuck in the
People shouldn't try to justify and making them go away. You're bringing condemnation to yourself when you do that.
Yep.
And you, a sinner, think you know better than the scriptures? What makes you, considering that you know you're a sinner, how do you think you know any better? But anyways, it's just ironic, some of the things that people say to get out of believing what's been inspired by Yahweh. But anyway,
it's a rather
if you
bizarre
taught,
it's a rather bizarre form of bargaining with the price.
yeah, well, they're gonna have a dreadful day. That's all I can say.
I can read some more.
Okay.
Please.
All right. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking with her.
Steadfast. That sounds like diligent, sturdy,
Yes.
endure to the end.
Well, shoot, where are the roots?
Huh?
Where are the roots? Where are
the
those who are
roots, as
steadfast?
in roots, or those who are steadfast, or roots? As
Yes,
in,
those who are steadfastly minded.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
are they?
Well, that's just what I think I would include us in that, but
Yeah.
that's what I was just trying to say. It's the steadfast, the diligent,
Mhm.
aka Nazarene, right?
Mhm.
Anyways, not to
Yeah.
plug my
Enduring
little
to the end.
enduring to the end. And she thus
So,
became.
so they too went until they came to Bethlehem. Came to pass when they were come to
So
Bethlehem.
one thing I do want to say on this, and they went into where the Messiah was born.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Right?
that was not lost. That was definitely not lost on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're discussing these things as we're
Oh, no,
reading
no,
the
no, no.
story,
I was,
Yeah, and it's recorded, so this is also
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
for the viewing audience.
right,
Yeah.
right.
but,
And it came to pass when they were come to Bethlehem that all the
Yeah.
city was moved about them, and they said, "Is this Naomi?"
so one thing I find it interesting, they came to Bethlehem and they were excited for the convert.
Yes.
Real believers want the converts. False believers do not.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just about that. It was like they knew her and they were excited that she was back.
Yeah.
She had left before, right? She had left.
Oh, and this. Oh,
Right?
come on.
I
Let's
can
get to
see
verse
that.
22. Let's get to
Okay.
verse 22. This that one
Okay.
that one is just freaking awesome.
All
Okay.
right, well,
Right.
well, let's do one at a time here.
Okay.
And she said unto them, "Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me."
Let's go
Just
look
like
at.
Mara and the bitter water, Mara, the place of bitter waters.
Yeah, okay, so let's go look at
But I was going to say, yeah, I'm curious now. What is the actual meaning of that?
Bitter.
Bitter.
Means bitter.
oh,
But we can look it up. We can look it up. Don't take my word for it.
well, I think it's good
Well,
to go to
I
Bible Hub,
won't.
right?
Yeah, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to go to Bible Hub.
Yeah. So
Bitter. Okay.
life
Yeah.
is bitter without the Messiah, right? Because
Yeah.
she's saying
Mhm.
it was bitter, not that it is bitter now,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And life is bitter without the Messiah,
It absolutely is.
or was. I think you mean
Or
was,
yeah,
right?
or has been at
Yeah, okay.
times. Yes.
Sure. Anyways,
All right. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me?
This goes straight to Isaiah. Verse 21, the Lament of Zion.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So
Because here
Naomi
she is,
returned.
she says, why are you calling me friend? Seeing Yahweh has tested it against me, right? As in,
Well, Naomi means
Pleasant.
pleasant.
oh,
Pleasing.
okay. It was
Yeah, yeah.
Ruth that was friend. Sorry, I got a little
Right.
confused there.
Mhm.
So it's the church coming back saying, we're not worthy. We're not, you know what I'm saying? We're
The Lord
horribly,
hath dealt.
right.
The
We
Lord has
messed
dealt.
up.
The Lord has dealt with us harshly.
Right.
Right, and he testified against us, which is
Right.
then you get
Why
the
are you
curses.
calling us beautiful when we've been afflicted?
Yeah.
So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning. Oh,
Of the
of the barley harvest.
Passover.
Interesting.
That connects back to Passover, right?
Yes,
and totally connects this to the second coming, the resurrections.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the old church is coming back, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
And then
Wait,
there's this new
what?
church coming.
Wait, what? What? No. Say that again, Stephen. Say that again.
The old church is coming back, the Jews.
Say it again.
The Jews are coming back, and then the Gentiles are coming with.
Yes.
During which she came out of Babylon, right, and
Yep.
came to the city of David,
Yep.
aka the
And
Messiah.
the
The
beginning
Bethlehem.
of
Or
the
this is the
Passover.
city of bread, right? Bethlehem, a city
Yep.
of bread, aka the flesh, the commandments. In the
Yep.
in the
Beginning of the
of
barley harvest.
barley harvest.
More beautiful now.
That is Passover.
Yep.
Yes.
And it's because of Passover, or what happened on Passover, that makes all of this possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is even more beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah. But these high holidays, they don't mean anything. They don't help us understand the scriptures.
We
I don't
should
know what you're talking
definitely
about.
not observe them, because that is all done away.
No, actually, what we should do is we should go and watch other people observe them.
Yeah.
Like a museum.
Yeah.
Right. This is what was, but it's passed away now because it's done.
Yeah, I know, because forever means only for a little time, right?
Forever only means for the first 4,000 years of the world's history. For the second 2,000, but for the next 2,000 years, if you do that, you're following Satan's temptations.
Yeah, this is where Satan got making good look evil.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, majority of the world fall for it. Anyways.
Well, it's one of those things that has me say, and it sounds really uncharitable when I say it, but it has me say, people are morons.
Yeah, well, I was there once. So we need to preach it to hopefully wake
Kind of
some
think
up.
that's an oxymoron, but yeah, anyways.
Yeah, well,
Because
especially
they're way less on than they are more.
Oh, I get it now.
Now Joshua's being as clever as me. That's awesome.
That was good, actually. That was pretty good.
Welcome to Sickles family wordplay.
Okay, so I can read for a little bit here. I should probably take a turn.
Yeah.
And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband. So this is the Kinsman Redeemer here, right?
Oh my goodness, a kinsman of the father.
Yeah,
A kinsman of the father.
husband. A mighty man of. So in this, I would almost, kinsman of her husband would almost somewhat point to the father and the son.
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
A mighty man of wealth connects us to the parable of the talents.
Yeah, it does. Family of Elimelech, the king, right? And his name was Boaz. So actually,
now we got to look up Boaz.
Yeah, because I don't know what that name means, but you're right on the same wavelength there.
Yep.
This story is just taking on whole new levels.
Let's go look up Boaz.
Quickness.
Quickening.
Yeah, quickening. I would agree with that.
He who
Quickening,
quickens.
which has to do with sanctification.
Interesting. It's also a pillar before the temple.
Yeah, because there's
That is
Boaz and
actually
Jachin.
what that's actually used to refer to Jesus, the pillar before.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Word origin unused. Oh, that's too bad. Quickness, but quickening. I would agree with that. Okay, so let's go back.
So we definitely have our Messiah type.
Also,
Yes. Which is
said-
the Kinsman Redeemer.
Zach.
So go ahead, Zach.
it said
Zach, what's up?
it said ancestor of David, and I think of it. Is it Revelation that he says the roots in offspring and what's an offspring of David or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, he's and Boaz
Revelation.
is the roots. And that goes to Isaiah, I believe.
Yeah. Revelation 22:16. I am the root and the offspring of David.
Yeah.
I am the root and the offspring. Wow.
Well, that would definitely make Boaz a type, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay. So let's go back here. Okay, go away menu. And Ruth, the friend,
Right.
who was a pagan,
Mm-hmm.
said unto the old church,
The lovely church. Yeah.
Lovely old church, let me now go to the field.
Ooh. And
like the
glean
woman at
ears
the
of
well,
corn.
right? The field is
Yeah.
white, ready to harvest.
Yep.
And glean.
She is convicted and wants to go out and share the gospel. She has a fire.
She has awakened and arisen.
Yeah, and glean the ears of corn. So I don't know what corn is symbolic in the scripture, so I can't read that one. I don't know if you guys know.
Use the Gentiles.
After him, in whose sight I shall find grace.
Which is Boaz, right?
Yep.
Which is a type of the Messiah, which is where we get grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. So, go get grace with the Messiah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And she went and came and gleaned in the field, like just getting as little as she could. Because gleaning is where you get the leftovers, right?
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Which is kind of what we have in today's world right now, right?
Pretty
We
much.
get the leftovers.
Yep.
And so this, I would say this gleaning would point to the times of the Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, which is just before the wedding that we'll see happening in a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the fields after the reapers. The reapers could be taken a couple ways, right? And I'm not too solid on it, so I'm not going to say too much.
Yeah.
But it's well, I mean, it's one way clearly that it can be taken is those go in and thrust in your sickle and reap with your might.
Sure. Okay. And her hap, I don't know what a hap is. Do you guys?
That by chance it was her, and it was her fortune to light on the part of the field.
Okay.
The land on the part of the field.
Sure. So she went to here it's going to the part of field that belonged unto the Messiah, Boaz.
Right.
So, along those lines, I feel the same way. Right? I grew up a Gentile in a pagan LDS church, Brighamite church, and I happened to come across the right field that I didn't understand when I first came onto it.
Yeah.
I feel the same way as that. Now, I do believe it's providence of Yahweh that caused it, but as I was going through it, it was just kind of a lucky find. Yeah, it was lucky.
You
find
happened
as far as I
to
know.
light into a part of the field that touched your mind and your soul.
For me, I don't know how much of it was happenstance as it was just I felt guided to be there.
Well, I think mine was multiple things. I did Yahweh put in my heart to go look into more, but
it wasn't like I was groping. It wasn't like I was groping around blindly. I was praying. I prayed a lot, was receiving inspiration, which pointed me in this direction. And my happenstance was that I happened to follow it.
Okay. Mine was kind of finding it, because mine was kind of situational. It could be
He's-
because it's
Ben,
something
were
people have run into.
you saying it
If
was
you
kinda-
understand,
it's
if you
kinda hit or
understand, if
miss.
you understand what if you knew when you know me, you'll understand exactly how much I was
Yeah.
telling the truth there. How much
Yeah.
that it was happenstance that I actually obeyed something from somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
You want to elaborate more, or
Oh,
Uh,
I'm just a very independent person.
okay.
Yes.
yes, yes. That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it.
Let's
Yeah.
just leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm but but I'll tell you, the blessings of being obedient have made me much more willing to do so.
Right. Sure. So, but here's like Boaz is like the son, and the husband is the king, which would be more like the father, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Who is the
So the son and the
kindred,
father. Yep.
going back to the Kinsman Redeemer
Yep.
portion, which Boaz ends up being, right?
Yes, that's correct.
4, and behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the, he was born in Bethlehem, right? And said unto the reapers, Yahweh be with you. And they answered and said, Yahweh bless thee.
Yeah, these are actually two common greetings in Hebrew.
Right. So the main thing I could bring out here is a lot of people, Hebrew rooters, they get it from the Pharisees that you're not supposed to be speaking Yahweh's name.
Mhm.
And here's in Ruth that they're greeting each other with Yahweh's name.
Yahweh.
Yeah.
With the name of Yahweh.
Yeah. In this all caps here is showing that that's Yahweh. This is not Adonai.
Yes.
This is Yahweh.
Yes.
So anyways, we don't have to go look at the preference of the King James, but this is all caps forward. This is Yahweh.
Well, it's all caps for a good reason.
Well, I know, but a lot of people don't know.
But
the
it,
all
it
caps.
Well,
no, it's
yeah,
actually all-
that's true.
It's
That's
actually
true.
all caps Lord for a very bad reason. The ineffable name doctrine. That's a very bad reason.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, this is what it points to. And here
Right.
it
Right.
shows
That's
that
what I'm
they
saying.
used to greet each other with it, right?
Yeah.
It's a false
Yeah.
tradition that you can't speak it.
Yeah, they're
Um, And this is from the Hebrew Bible, right here,
Yes.
Ruth, right? Anyways, enough on
Yep.
that. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, right? Okay, so this would be the son and his prophet sent over those who are reaping, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Whose damsel is this? Oh, this is beautiful. Look, he's talking
Mhm.
about the reaping and the damsel.
Mhm.
Someone becoming into the church, which is reaping is all about. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
He brought it full circle in just one short sentence.
One question.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the servant that was sent over the reapers, so this would be like the prophet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Answered and said, It is the
It's
The
the pagan.
pagan-
It's the pagan damsel, the
Yeah.
pagan woman.
that came back.
You know, the
with-
one that came
They
back.
came back with the pleasant church out of the country of Babylon.
Yeah. So like missionary work there going on,
Right.
right? And she said, I pray you, let me glean. Just let me have a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of the mother. The mother and son, who is a Phoenician, not a Hebrew, and asks Jesus for a miracle. And
Mhm.
and when he tells her that he's sent to feed the children, and her response is, yes, but even the dogs can hope to gain the crumbs.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, exactly. And she said, I pray you, I just read that. And she continued from the morning until now that she tarried a little in the house. So she's gleaning and wants to be in the house of Yahweh. That's what I get there.
Yep.
Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maiden. So stay with the true teachings, right?
Yep.
Mhm. Don't
Keep-
glean in any other fields. It's like it's in the law. Don't plant plants. Don't plant certain plants next to each other.
Well, so I think that one's a little different. So I think the reason, for example, the wheat and the tares, that's talked about in the New Testament, you can't tell them
The wheat and
apart.
ta-
And so
But
I
the wheat
see
and the
that
tares
law about deception
Yeah.
in
Okay.
that you don't plant two things together that look the same and then go try
Okay.
to sell it as the one, because that is deception.
Yeah, I see.
But I do think there's other things that go along with it.
Mhm.
But I do think that's the main reason for the law is tell the truth. Do not
Right.
lie.
Mhm.
Don't bear a false witness.
Right.
Right. That's
Yeah.
where I
But
see that.
but there's multiple other places where the Lord says, "Don't do as the heathens do. Don't glean from the other fields."
Correct. Don't do as the pagans do.
Right.
Mhm.
Especially after their false way of worshiping their false
Yeah,
gods.
especially not after their false Christmas. I mean, sorry.
Oh wait, Easter. Did you mean Easter?
Yes, and Christmas.
Oh, that's the worst one. That one.
And Valentine's Day
Yeah, or
and Halloween.
Halloween. Anyways, all right, let's yeah, we're hitting a lot of sacred cows there.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
But don't do things
moving
and-
on.
Stephen, moo. Anyway, carry on.
okay.
Yeah, we read 8. We finished
okay,
8.
Psalm 1:9.
Yeah.
Let thine eyes, so eyes is symbolic of desires,
Yep.
be on the field, on my field, right? Have your desire be on my ways, not other people's ways. In fact, just on that point, to pluck out thy eye from the servant of the mount is saying, get rid of your bad desires.
Yeah.
Well, there's another rendition of it, which is talking about get rid of your bad leaders because your eye is the light. Is that what you look to for a light?
No, I can see that. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the light is the eyes.
It's in the Joseph Smith translation. I believe it is the I don't think it's the Matthew version of it, but it may be the version of it that's taught in Mark.
So I think, especially if the JSTs are a little different there, I would wonder if those are actually different sermons. But anyways, that's another discussion.
Yeah, that is another.
Because I don't know. I haven't seen Yahweh's mortal ministry, but I know what I've done. I've taught the same basic ideas, different ways to different people myself.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm sure you have been.
Oh,
so
many times.
So anyways.
I actually do try to gauge my audience to try to figure out what's going to get how to get the message to them.
Right.
So they
so
can accept it.
I am inclined to think those are different sermons, even though there's
different
overlap.
sermons. Okay.
It's just anyways. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I can see that. I'm not worth arguing about.
Yeah. Well, I know. I'm just saying let's go on.
Yeah, let's move on. Let us move on.
Have I not charged the young men that they should not touch thee? When thou art athirst, did I say
Athirst.
athirst?
So if you're
In other words,
Thirsty, yeah, that one's thirsty. Go unto the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. That sounds kind of reminds me of the woman at the well, right?
Yep.
yep.
So I'm not sure what to do with this first part though. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? This one might be a rhetorical question, meaning I told the servants to watch after you, which would go like how the prophets go off and try to teach you. Because
Right.
this sounds more like a rhetorical question, possibly, right?
Yeah. I could go with that.
Well, at least that's how I'm seeing it right now myself. But anyway,
Right. And it also shows the protective nature of Yahweh over those who would over his church and those who would be his church.
Yeah. Exactly. Those who keep the commandments, right? Because he
Right.
will protect
And
them.
those who are learning the commandments to keep them.
And then she fell on her face like Moses did for praying.
Bowed herself to the ground.
Herself to the ground and said unto him, why have I found grace in thy eyes? And that's what we should say to the Messiah. Just like in prayer, right? That thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger, a wanderer. All right.
Or a sinner.
Or a sinner.
Or a sinner.
That sounds exactly what we should be doing. In fact, Lehi's tree life vision, right? He fell and bowed.
He fell on his face at the tree, at the foot of the tree.
And Boaz is representative of the Messiah here, or the tree. Right?
Yeah.
The tree of life. So, because I am a sinner. And in fact, that sounds like Peter, right? At the boat when he was called. I'm a sinner, depart from me. All right.
Yep.
You want to read some, Ben?
And Boaz answered and said unto her, it hath been fully showed me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother, and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore.
Well, I can see symbolism.
The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of Yahweh Elohim of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust.
Yeah. Wings are symbolic of power, and Yahweh will put us under his wings, right? So that's beautiful right there.
Yeah.
And this also goes about how we're rewarded for our work, right? As in the three different glories.
And then it's a recompense for the work, and the work comes because we want to be obedient, and we've come to trust in the power of our God, Elohim, Yahweh.
Well, let's actually delve into the relationships that are here in this parable, or in this history, to more fully understand what he's talking about. All that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband. The old church. The Gentiles crossing over, valuing it, cleaving to the law, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother in the land of thy nativity. We've left our old families. We've left our old relationships to come.
And this, could even go on to Genesis, to cleave unto thy wife or thy husband. right?
Right.
Which goes on how Boaz is about to become her husband, the Messiah, right?
Right.
And
Right.
art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore. And how many of us, when we began this exploration, could describe God's religion in this way, that we knew it not heretofore?
Well,
Or none of us knew
looking
it.
back in
None of us
my
knew it.
back then I thought I knew it, but what I know now, I definitely know I did not, right?
Yep. Exactly.
In fact, just to go along with that, my favorite song from my mission on was one that talking about wanting to know the Messiah. It's not my favorite song anymore. Meaning, I've come to know him.
And you can come to know him. This is the recompense and that is the recompense for our work.
Yeah.
That we come to know him.
Yeah.
And the full reward is given to us.
Yeah. All right. So maybe
All we have to do is be Ruth and not Orpah.
And for real, and not just telling ourselves that, but
right.
Because there's a lot in Opa that think they are Ruth when they're really not. Because they're doing all these pagan ways that the law actually speaks out against. But because their church tells them it's okay, they think it is.
But if you slap the name of Jesus on it, it's not pagan no more.
Yeah, that's not what the law says.
Yeah. We darn baptized that.
Yeah. Well, you're still in your deception, and you're still on the that's what you think. Sorry. Do with that will.
Verse 13. Let's do it.
Right. Anyways, okay. Let's go 13. Okay. I think you're reading, Ben.
Oh, it's my turn. That's right. Yeah. Then she said, "Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thine handmaidens."
So, I mean, not married yet, right? Thank you for showing me friendship and comfort, like, giving her peace, like when Yeshua was talking to the apostles, right?
Well, honestly, I think that's talking about justification.
Talking about what?
Let me find favor in thy sight, for thou hast comforted me.
Justification.
Yeah, I can see justification. Okay. And then look, it's talking about sanctification after. Because first you comforted me, but I'm not one of your handmaidens yet, right?
Right.
So I can, I see that. Justification and
sanctification
right there.
The dynamic there, yeah. Interesting.
Because it's those of the firstborn are those who are sanctified, right? Going to D&C 76, the celestial, they're the church of the firstborn.
Right.
They're the only church of the firstborn, those who receive the celestial glory. But when we first start, we're not. We're just comforted or justified.
Right.
Which gives us comfort, as Ben's bringing out. But then we, if you're really that, you need to go continue on more, right? What she's showing there, forth there. Go on to sanctification.
So many people stop at their justification, thinking they've gotten everything that they need.
Yeah. And I think some of it is because of the lies that they're told. But yeah, I do think a lot of people get justified and they stop there. They think they're good.
Well,
Yeah.
and then except that oftentimes the interesting thing is that many of these people then actually go back. You can't actually stop.
No.
You're either going forward or you're going back.
I agree. And there's some that get justified that then get unjustified.
And then, yeah, unjustify themselves.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's part of the reason why you need to endure to the end. But anyways,
Yep.
Yep.
once saved, always saved is a false teaching from Satan.
Mm-hmm.
That is a false doctrine.
That is a false lie.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Speaking
that's
of contradiction in terms.
I'm actually quoting a movie.
I know.
because that's a
I
double
know.
meaning there.
That was
But anyways,
The king.
Here we go.
okay, you want to go with 14?
And Boaz said unto her, at mealtime, come thou hither, and eat of the
Okay,
bread.
so this is interesting. So the Messiah, covenant time, meal time is
Yep.
Mhm.
sitting down and partaking of a meal together is symbolic of having a covenant. That's part of
Mhm.
sacrament is eating and covenanting together.
Yep.
Yep. And eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar.
So this is the commandments and
Mhm.
also the atonement and joy,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed, and left.
So she was filled.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wish I knew what corn was in the scriptures. What is symbolic of? That's just one I don't know.
Yeah, because it does keep saying corn.
Yeah, this is at least the second
Specifically
time.
corn.
Yeah, this is at least the second time. So maybe let's sidetrack a little bit. Let's go look up corn just out of curiosity. Let's
Mhm.
let's see what this guy says about corn. Let's see if they have corn in here. Cow. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to go to corn. See if they have-
Our circumcision. Cloud. Getting somewhere.
Oh.
I think he passed it.
I might have.
Nope.
No,
C
that's
there yet.
contrite,
O N.
contrition.
Almost there.
CORI.
Corn. See,
Corn.
grain or wheat. All right. Well, let's do this then. That's where we were. Individuals as well as nations go into exile, such as idyllic story of Ruth, although the English poet John Keats pictured her as a sick for home amid the alien corn. The focus of the biblical story instead of on which Ruth found acceptance for fallen culture and religion is the happiest story of exile. Okay, that's not too helpful, I don't think. Although the prophet Isaiah said of the people Israel, they are the shoot I have planted. Despite this, Israel was not faithful to Elohim, and this too is described with allusions to growth. I plant you like a choice vine of sound and reliable stock. How will you turn against me into corruption, old wild vine? Even then, they could return, though Hosea, this is what Yahweh said unto Israel, returning, seeking forgiveness. I will be like the dew to Israel. He will blossom like a lily, like a cedar Lebanon, and he send down his roots, his young shoots will grow, he will splendor, be like an olive tree, his fragrance like a cedar of Libyan. Men will dwell again in his shade. He will flourish like corn. He will be blossom like a vine. So corn here is being used positively in that verse, right?
Yep.
But this is not really helping me know what it means. I don't think. Did you guys get what it means?
I think
from
corn. I think that I think the first
Well,
thing
think
is
about the dream. Think about Pharaoh's dream, right? His
Yeah.
first dream is about ears of corn, right? Or is that the second?
the
dream?
second dream.
I think
Second
that was
dream
the
is about
second
ears
one.
of corn. Huh?
So
Yeah.
here's the interesting, but okay, but on that point, the first one were cows, and
Mhm.
fatted cows have to do with the Messiah.
Right.
And if both the dreams of the cow and the corn was of the same thing, I wonder if corn has to do with the Messiah.
Well, it has to do with grain. It has to do with harvests, and with it has to do with the. In this instance, in this particular story, it has to do with harvest and grains.
Yes.
So one could safely assume that the barley harvest and the wheat harvest are both corn.
That's a possibility.
By this definition, because grain, wheat, synonymous, corn. So that's actually more helpful than you think.
Yeah.
I can kind of see that.
But why? But then why does it specifically state corn over and over and over and over again throughout the story of Ruth, and not intermingled it with grains and stuff like that?
Actually, it does.
Does it?
Yes, because there's sometimes it says corn, sometimes it says she was behind the men gleaning grain.
And
It's-
when the apostles,
it's in there. It's in there.
And when the apostles glean
We were
in the
just reading it.
fields, and when the apostles are gleaning in the fields, being okayed by Yeshua, as that's an acceptable thing to do on the Sabbath, they're gleaning corn.
Was it
or
corn?
grain.
I'll have to check that in a minute. So here, this according to this site,
It
it can
symbolizes
be,
fertility,
wouldn't,
prosperity, and joy.
so fertility could be bringing forth converts, right? Because
Right.
you're creating a new son or daughter, which is symbolic of followers, prosperity
Uh-huh.
and joy. So I can see that.
Mhm.
Prosperity and joy. Survival. Oh, okay, I can see that here. Coming visitor. Okay.
Maize. Anyways.
So I see those. I can see those as possibilities. I do know. Corn has its negative aspects, as you
Yes,
can
yes,
see a
it
little
does.
bit here also, and
We're
there's
getting
some of the
into-
pagan ceremonies that deal with
Getting into
corn. That
some
are not
unpleasant
good.
pagan occult stuff there. Yeah.
So there's good and bad. So on the one that Matt was
Given the
bringing up-
fact that okay, your Bible concordance equates corn with grain. The one that you just showed us there.
Yeah, that was
the one about imagery and what have you.
Yeah.
Right.
So does the for everything, I know we don't like I know nobody here likes the topical guide at all.
It has some
Or
good
the
to
footnotes.
They're not perfect, that's for sure.
They're not perfect, but here the footnote backs up what your biblical backs up the same equivalency that your biblical symbology guide has drawn. And so I think that the word corn is just being used to represent grain.
That could be. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Shall we continue?
so what Matt brings up, let's go look there on the gleaning on the Sabbath. So that's at least one instance of it, if there's not others, is Mark 2:23 through 28. So I can read it. And it came to pass that he went through the cornfields on the Sabbath day, and his disciples began as they went to pluck the ears of corn. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, they do on the Sabbath day, which is not lawful. Which that's not the case, because the law actually says they can glean, and this is what they're doing. It's just, it's not according to their oral law, right? Anyways, because they put hedges around the law, which basically means, for those who don't know, they made the law harder than what it was supposed to be.
Yep.
And they never read what David did. Okay. So, but anyways, the main thing in here, it was corn. So for some reason I was thinking it was wheat. But yeah, here it is, it's corn.
Yeah, but I still think that it's there's another telling of it which says that it was kernels, which just says kernels of grain.
Okay, so but that would be with a going back and forth using corn and grain, right?
Yep, corn and grain. Yep.
So maybe that's why I was thinking it was wheat. We can go look into that reference, or we can go on back to Ruth. I'm more back to Ruth personally.
Let's try and finish something.
What?
I know.
No.
Are you implying I don't finish my posts there? Are you?
A subtle shot. A subtle shot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't worry.
If you missed that shot, then yeah.
Don't worry, Stephen. It was a shot up your nose. I mean, across your nose. Across your. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Well, I know you guys like them when I do finish them. I do try.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Anyways, okay, so I think we just finished 14, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were talking about at mealtime, time to partake of bread and wine, time to and so she did that, partook of covenants and commandments, was filled and left.
Yeah.
And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not.
So go among the other members is what I would put in that, right?
Yep.
Or start to be part of the church, right?
Yep.
I trust her.
And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not.
Meaning,
In other words,
So give her more. Give her more.
Yes, she's accepting what I'm giving her. Give her more.
Yeah. Just like when we show our acceptance of what he gives us by keeping it, he then gives us more, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So she gleaned in the field until even, and beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley.
That's a lot, by the way.
So this is where, even the barley, or even the celestial glory, people with celestial glory still need to get tested, and there's things taken out of them, right? Because the beating of the barley can be accomplished with air alone. Correct.
Yes.
It can, but I think this is just more what's bringing out that even the barley needs to be perfected, or even the celestial people need to still be perfected.
Yep, even celestial people need to have trials and tribulation. And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw that what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed.
Well, going
So
up to the city, that's like going to Jerusalem, and the mother-in-law was happy for it.
and what I see here is now the Gentiles are feeding the mother church.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's part of
just
prophecy,
like
Stephen.
how
It's
the
part of
Jews
prophecy.
will return after they get jealous of the Gentiles.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, good point.
But that never is going to happen while the Gentiles are busy telling the Jews that the law that they received from God is bogus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not gonna happen.
Yeah. They need to keep the law first.
Yes.
Yep.
Um,
All right.
And her mother-in-law said unto her, Where hast thou gleaned today? And where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, The man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz.
and look what I got from the Messiah that I shared to you. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
This
And
is what I
Naomi
got.
said,
Because that's the old church. That's the old
What?
church sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, this is like awesome. Where did you get this from?"
Right.
You might know him. It's this guy named Boaz, the Savior.
Yep.
The guy that you crucified.
Kinsman to your husband.
Mm-hmm.
This guy.
Yeah.
And then look at the response.
And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of Yahweh, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, The man is of near kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So they recognize, and they.
Well, here
awesome.
it even kind of just like says Yahweh, right?
Yeah.
He be of Yahweh, or he is Yahweh, because that's what Boaz is representing. He's our Kinsman Redeemer.
It's
like Yahweh.
It's the old church realizing, waking up, starting to wake up and realize that they're not totally forsaken.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruth the Moabitess, the pagan Gentile, he said unto me also, Thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest.
So the young men are going to be the prophets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And until the end of my harvest, which is there's two ways I could take that. One, I probably more with what the rest of this history points to is going to be the second coming, right?
Right.
Because it could be the second coming or the end of the world, or well, end of the world could be second coming, but I mean the end of the seventh millennium. But because of what this general history is being a parable for, I would go more of the second coming.
Yep. And Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field.
Mm.
Yeah, just like
So here,
go ahead.
So here we have the old church acknowledging its kinship with the Gentiles.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she kept fast. No, sorry.
I was going to read the last one. And she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of the barley harvest and of the wheat harvest.
Oh, wow.
And dealt with her mother-in-law. Oh, look at this. The barley and wheat harvest.
With her mother-in-law. If we are not dwelling in the law, we're not Ruth.
Right. Yeah, because it didn't go up to the grape harvest, because those are the ones that are crushed that didn't keep it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's not by accident.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to pause